Sasifikile thina nohlelo Yilungelo Lakho, it's your right. Mbukeli siza kunibukhoma la kumamba phambili SABC 1 Mzansi for sure. Mina ke ngonhlanhla uAlisha Ntokazi yakajani. Njengenjalo babukeli, nawe phela ngizokupha ithuba lokuthi usithinte la ukhulume nathi sizwe wena ukuthi uthini. Ingcingo zethu ke la e-studio ayikakashintshi nje 0117146918 alternatively 7146919. Ningasithumela i-email ku consumer@sabc.co.za. Nisithole futhi lapha ku Facebook na ku Twitter. Ngabe luthini udaba la namhlanje mbukeli? Ake sibhekane nalo. Bukela ukwebiwa kwemininingwane yomuntu eyimfihlo sakuthole njengembangela ehamba phambili ekukhwabaniseni eNingizimu Afrika. Ukunganaki kwabathengi ngale mininingwane yabo kanye futhi nangendlela phela ezinye izinkampani ezisebenza ngayo lemininingwane yabantu ezigcina ngayo lemininingwane yabantu ayincomeki neze. Ochwepheshe sebethi wonke umuntu usengozini, umbuzo ukuthi nje wena kuzokwenzeka nini kuwena. Uvuyisile Mdoda wenze naluphando.
Ngeviki ukhupha umgqomo wenkunguma okwenza ungasangaso ukulandelayo kufika lo nalo azinikele ikhangela into enokumzisela imali yokuthenga into eyayithunjini ngaphakathi kulongunguma kukho la leta iqoqa amatyala istatement sebhanga wasejula lokulibala ipay slip kunye namanye amaxwebhu embalelwano ongasawahoyanga into yenza ixhala yokuba onke lo maphepha aneenkcukacha zakho zezazisi nezifunwa ngomnye umuntu ongamaziyo. If
you get your statements and you don't, your bank statements, your cell phone statements, and you have done with it what you need, you paid your account, shred that information or burn the information. Don't just throw it in the bin. People are coming around your bin, they will harvest that information, they'll create a profile which looks like yourself and they will open accounts in your name.
Ukubiywa kwenkcukacha zabantu ngenjongo zokwenza ubuqhetseba bukhulu eMzantsi Afrika. Ngonyaka kulahleka amakhulu ezigidi zeerandi. Ingcali zithi izikrelemnqa aziphelelwe ngamaqhinga ukwenza ubuqhetseba.
Insurance fraud is very prevalent in South Africa. Unfortunately, in a lot of cases, it's also a contact sport. So in order to perpetrate fraud, people are stealing vehicles, they're hijacking vehicles, they are killing people for funeral benefits, and this is happening every single day. You know, fraud and crime in South Africa is probably one of our biggest challenges. We have a lot of issues around unemployment, which makes people desperate for money. So they're looking for any avenue in which to fund their families and to feed themselves.
Kwingqungquthela ibibanjwe kutshanje eRhawutini, apho bekukhangelwa isisombululo, kuvele into yokuba kulamaxesha obunzima kwezoqoqosho abantu abaninzi babone ukukhwabanisa njengethuba lokufumana imali. uMaria Smith uphanda ubuqhetseba obenziwa ngabantu abasebenzisa i-medical aid. Uthi kuphando lwakhe seledibene neziganeko zobuqhetseba eziya kushiya ubambe ongezantsi.
What we do see is a lot of instances of collusion between members and healthcare service providers. So some of the bizarre examples is, people actually buying groceries, appliances, TVs, fridges from a healthcare service provider, let's say a pharmacy or a doctor. And then, in order to pay for that, claims are being submitted to the medical scheme for healthcare services, whether consultation took place or medicines or injections, etc.
Ulumkise ngelithi abantu abaninzi abayazi ukuba oyena muntu uchanekayo ekwenzeni ubuqhetseba ngumthengi hayi i-medical aid.
The result is just that premiums go up and benefits get smaller. So, the actual old pensioner that's contributing to the medical scheme, he's the person that's losing, not a big building, somewhere in the city.
Ukhe ubuza na ukuba kwenziwa ntoni ngeenkcukacha zakho ozibhala phansi xa ungena kwi-ofisi okanye kwizakhiwo ezifuna izazisi. Umthetho uthi iinkcukacha zakho maziphathwe ngokukhuselekileyo. Ukuba ziza kusetyenziswa kufuneka unike imvume yokuqala. Kodwa kwatyeshelwa oko xa iinkcukacha zeenkonde ezitya umhlala phantsi zasetyenziswa ngondlela mnyama. Abaninzi bothuka abakubona ukutsalwa imali abangazange bagunyaziswe ukuba itsalwe.
When ama-grant beneficiaries befaka benikezela ngama-ID numbers wabo mabe apply grant, it was for payment of grant. It was not for anything else like ukuthengiselwa ama-airtime, ukuthengiselwa ama-policy, ukuyofuna ama-loan.
Ukuvulwa kwe-ofisi yomkhuseli weenkcukacha zabantu, i-information regulator ngolwasemzini, ezakukhokelwa ngu-advocate Phantsi Hlakula, kunika ithemba lokuba iziganeko ezifana nezi aziphinde zenzeke. kunjalo uyakohlwaya kakhulu umuntu ophula umthetho. Ngovuyisile Mdoda, Yilungelo Lakho.
Siyabonga kakhulu-ke ngalo mbiko esiwudidelwe insizwa uVuyisile Mdoda. Manje mbukela ukukhuluma abanzi phela ngobugebengu obenziwa ngokusebenziswa imininingwane eyimfihlo yabathengi. Masamukela ivakashi zethu today. We're very pleased to welcome in studio today nimbonile lapha on our screens Mr. Manny van Schalkwyk obuya kwa-South African Fraud Prevention Services. Sibe naye futhi nimbonile naye Advocate Bensi Hlakula yena-ke ongumkhuseli wemininingwane yabantu phecelezi i-Information Regulator. Sinaye futhi lapha khona insizwa uLenaik obuya kwi-Credit Bureau ebizwa i-TransUnion Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, what a pleasure. Good afternoon to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Very much. Good
Thank you.
afternoon.
All right, Lee, we've seen the two on screen already. So let's start by getting to know you a little bit better. You come from one of the biggest credit bureaus here in South Africa, TransUnion. Tell us a bit about what it is that you guys do pertaining to personal information of our viewers today.
So TransUnion's been around since 1901 in South Africa, which is a long, long time. And a large part of what we are being asked to do on behalf of the industry is gather information on behalf of the key lending players, so whether you're a bank, a telco, an insurer. When you actually take credit agreements out as a consumer, we collect this information and have a single view of the consumer. What we're trying to do, Alicia, is two things. One, trying to have a single view of a consumer to protect their better interests, so they can make better decisions about credit they take on, how to pay off their bad debts. We also want to help lenders make conscious decisions under the National Credit Act in extending credit to these people. Now, one of the things around personal information is that whenever someone goes into a furniture store to buy furniture or to make an inquiry about buying a certain product, most lenders inquire one of the 6 bureaus in South Africa. So we're one of the largest bureaus, but there are actually 5 more of us as well. So what they do is they inquire of us and ask, have you seen this person, or is that transaction something that we should know about? And having this continuous flow of information allows the lender to know consciously whether it's money or the advocate that's actually trying to make a purchase as well. So having a single view is important in making decisions both on behalf of the lender but the consumer as well.
And then this view, Lee, is it what you'd call a personal profile of an individual?
Well, it's a personal profile in terms of certain parts of information.
Yeah.
Essentially, there are a few types of info. One, my personal information, such as my name, my surname, where I stay.
Yes.
What are the accounts that I currently have? The payments I have against those accounts. And finally, judgments or defaults you may have. Now, it's really interesting, Alicia, that even though every bureau is required to give one free credit report to consumers every year.
Every year, yeah.
We have about 25 million credit active consumers. The maximum we've ever given as an industry is only 600,000 credit reports. Now, it's quite scary.
That is
but
so scary.
It is scary for a few reasons. I guess one, people are scared of bad information.
Yeah.
But equally so, those that are able to access their reports are much more empowered to make better decisions about themselves and to pick up, for example, is fraud happening?
Yeah.
Is there some unusual behavior on my account that I didn't know about?
Absolutely, Lee. We're going to get into the details later on. I want to also extend a warm welcome to Uma Advocate Bensi Hlakula. Sigbonile nawe laphayana sizwa ukuthi usubizwa manje i-Information Regulator. Awusichazele kabanzi ukuthi what is this new role yakho it actually entails?
Ngithi ngicale ngiqolisa kuba bukeli ukuthi isiZulu sami hayi ngempela angisazi kahle kodwa ngizazama. I-Information Regulator was formed on the 1st of December 2016. I-mandate yayo ukukhusela i-personal information yabantu, kodwa futhi it's also to promote free flow of information. So irresponsible for amalungelo amabili, ilungelo le privacy, to protect the right to privacy, let's say constitution, futhi, and the right of access to information.
Okay.
So organization le ina malungu I5 and mina ke ngu chairperson walo.
Okay, so iphansi kwa government kahle kahle.
Cha,
Ayikho
phansi kwa government.
Okay.
Independent
Okay.
government, because si accounta ku-National Assembly.
Oh, I see.
Because sifanele si regulate everybody
Yes,
in
yes.
the public sector and in the private sector.
Okay.
So we cannot be under the executive.
All right, I think we needed to know that. Thank you so
Yes.
much for clarifying that. Mr. van Schalkwyk, thank you so much for joining us. Tell us a bit about what it is that you guys do. You always dealing with this type of fraud on a daily basis in your company.
Thank you for inviting me. Yes, the South African Fraud Prevention Services started about 16 years ago, and we're a non-profitable organization which was initially started for credit providers and banks as a platform to list confirmed fraud information. That is one part of our business. So, and how it works effectively is that if you open a bank account, that bank will check the credit bureau to see if you can afford the credit,
Yes.
and then they will come to us to see if you are listed on a fraud register. So that is part of a business. The second part of a business I think is very important is that we serve a platform for consumers free of charge for if you are a victim of identity theft, number one. The second part, if you lose your handbag and your ID was in there or your phone, and you are scared that your identity has been compromised in a way, you can apply for protective registration free of charge.
Okay.
And we will actually notify the credit provider when they check on your name that your ID was compromised, and they must check if you are the correct consumer and not maybe the fraudster.
All right.
So that is in a nutshell what we do.
All right. Now, we saw in the insert there, and I think I picked up two words there. They're saying that insurance fraud is very, very prevalent, and it's been also associated to collusion in the industry. Lee, talk to us about these terms. I mean, how prevalent is the scourge in the industry?
Well, most recently, there's a report done by a multinational consulting firm, PwC.
Yeah.
It actually noted South Africa as the #1 most economically corrupt country in the world, followed by Kenya, actually. So I guess the stats are quite daunting. We did a comparative local survey.
But what makes us so vulnerable, Lee?
Well, many things. I think a large part of this is that it's many elements, right? One, if you look at the state of our country, we have low economic growth. So right now we're at 1.3% of GDP growth.
Yeah.
We have a high level of indebtedness as a country. So for example, 73% of the disposable income we have as a country goes towards servicing debt, right? If you think about, if you combine then disposable income, which is our ability to spend extra money every month on things we want, combined with the low economic growth we have, then combined with real income growth. You're always hearing people talking about our yearly salary increases. So what you find is that inflation at a country level is in the 5-6% range, 5 to 6%, but our real income is only growing about 2%. We look at the tight conditions we live in as South Africans, you can understand some parts of it. This coexists with policy, with transparency and frameworks in place. And this report is quite worrying. And I think as a concerted effort between the regulator, between industry, private and public, when we come together and start to include transparency, we can start to work through some of these.
All right, Lee, we're going to hold it just there because we have to rush to a first ad break. We're going to join us shortly after this. I'll open up your lines. You can call us. Nishalo Ucingo, Nibuze Umbozo, Nomanibeke Imbono. We'll be back shortly after this. Welcome back, Mbogeli. We are discussing the importance of keeping your personal and private information, just that, private, in order to not fall victim to the latest identity fraud trends. I'm joined in studio by Mr. Mani van Schalkwyk of Obuyagwi South African Fraud Prevention Services. Sinaintokazi u-Advocate Bensi Tlakula yena-ke ongumkhuseli wemininingwane yabantu phecelezi i-Information Regulator, kanti nayo insizwa uLinike yena-ke ubuya kwe-Credit Bureau i-TransUnion Africa. Our lines are now open. Usungashayela ucingo la studio Mbukeli 011-714-6918 or 714-6919. Ungasithola futhi lapha ku Facebook and Twitter. I'll also be taking some of those tweets and Facebook messages live on air during the show. All right, so Mani, tell us a bit about what necessitated or what was the actual idea behind this fraud summit that was recently held here in Johannesburg?
We had a summit last week, and I think the main objective was to understand that not one company alone can actually fight the fight against financial crime or fraud in this perspective. And we looked at how fraud prevention companies like ourselves and our co-host, the Insurance Crime Bureau, how we can work together and finding ways and fighting fraud together. But not only that, but also how we and the credit providers, the banks can work together, how ourselves like the credit bureaus can work together, and very importantly, how ourselves and the regulators can work together. Because I think if we're just doing this fight alone, with a variety of fraudsters, which changes their modus operandi on a daily basis, it will become impossible for any one of us to fight this. And remember, the fraudsters don't sit downtown Johannesburg or in Sandton attacking systems. They sit all over the world, testing the vulnerability of systems the entire time. And it is for us as a community together. And sorry, the last thing is, we always look at ourselves as businesses, how we can work together. But I think the time has now come where we reach out to consumers and say, how can we, together with consumers, start working together and fighting these fraudsters? So that is the main objective of the conference, which was done last week.
All right, Advocate, look, talk to us about this. It seems like kahle kahle umuntu oblemwayo lana is the way that personal information is handled, either by abantu that they leave information yabo wherever, and zona, these very places where we leave our personal details, and sithole ukuthi they're actually sharing information yet. What is your comment on that, and how is your body now seeking to address wonke lama challenges?
Each challenge really, it's not really individuals who don't protect their information. Well, that is not the biggest. The biggest problem are the private bodies and the public bodies that have our personal information. So i-act yethu ibizwa ngokuthi Protection of Personal Information Act. And ithi ke lo mthetho lo uthi kunama conditions are 8 ufanele ukuthi if you process personal information, you must comply with those personal information. For instance, one ukuthi if for instance we are ngizawuthini uyothenga iphone kwa Vodacom. Vodacom fanele ukubuze ukuthi bathatha personal information yakho bayithathe kuye with your consent. And bafanele bathathe just the personal information that is required for the purpose of opening a cell phone contract. So bangakubuza igama lakho, bakubuze nesibongo ukuthi uhlalaphi, i-ID. That information is required. But they can't, and they must ask you minimum information, not excessive. For instance, abafanelanga bakubuza ukuthi umuntu omnyama or umuntu umlungu, it's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant,
because that will be excessive. Processing of personal information. And after bathathe information yakho, bafanele ukuthi bayenze sure ukuthi bayibeka kahle ayintshontshiwa, and they must put in place security measures that will ensure that your personal information is protected. But there is another side, and I'm sure we have to talk about this because most of us are victims. I'm sure siyawathola ama phone calls sonke uthi uvula ifone so umuntu ufuna ukuthengisela umshwalense ufuna ukuthengisela uyambuza ukuthi uyithathephi inamba yami. So lo mthetho wethu uthi you can't do that. Uthi if you want to contact a person umthengisele something ufanele wenze with his or her consent, and i-consent yakhona it's very specific. It has to be voluntary, it has to be express, and it's one of the requirements. So unless ukuthi uyi-customer, khona abantu ukuthi uthola ukuthi une-account ne-Edgars. I-Edgars ingakufonela ikuthengisele or impahla ikutshela ukuthi sine-sale zempahla. But i-Edgars ayikwazi ukuthi ikufonele ikuthengisele umshwalense because you are a customer in a retail store, not a customer, in an insurance company. So kunento ezinjalo ukuthi lo mthetho lo wethu uzawubhekisana nezinto ukuthi i-protect i-personal information yabantu, ukuthi if ama company ane personal information yabantu bafanele bayisebenzise kanjani. and bangenzini ngayo.
All right, and Ma, when it comes to beneficiaries like Abo Sasa, is that part of Abantu that you'll also be regulating?
Yes, yabona indaba lega sasa.
Yeah.
Futhi i-Constitutional Court iye yakhuluma ngithi bekune case le ike yangena yangeniswa i-Black Sash.
Yebo ma.
And i-court manje yathi bona labantu banike isasa i-personal information yabo for the purpose of payments of grants.
Yebo.
I-court yathi in future the personal information of grant beneficiaries should be used for the purposes of paying grants and that purpose only. That personal information should not be used to, kube nama-stop order, ama-airtime, kube nama-stop order, wama-insurance policy. I-court ite iphele yonke lento.
Yeah.
That personal information was given to SASSA for one purpose only.
Ukukhokhela ama-grant.
Ukukhokhela ama-grant.
You know, Lee, with this new regulation, maybe let's discuss what have been some of the biggest potholes that you've observed with the current regulation in the system that has allowed the fraudsters to get away with stealing personal information.
Well, one, I think the internet is something that's real right now. So the world is connected. So as Mani mentioned on the insert, the world is not just walking to a physical bank or retailer. It's on the internet, it's on mobile phones. And as you see the world becoming more connected, data starts to flow. And as the advocate mentioned, it flows freely as well. So now the responsibility is on the processors and the corporates, government entities to make sure we process the information properly. The biggest challenge we found is that what the advocate referred to as the prescribed purpose isn't always adhered to. So when I give my information over to a processor, what is it for? And what are you doing with it and what are you not doing with it?
And how guaranteed is it that you're not going to pass it on to the next person?
100%.
Yeah, let's leave it there. Mbukeli masiphuthume futhi ey'tolo sizoqhubeka silidingide lolu daba lokuthi uma ngabe wena untshontshelwe izinto njenge-personal information yakho bese umuntu ayahamba ayoklema lapha kuma-medical aid or kuma-insurance policies, wena ogcina ususenkingeni lapho, so sikuxwayisa ngalapho ukuthi izini izinto wena kumele uzazi. Ilungelo Lakho, live on SABC1. We're back shortly after this. Welcome back on Ilungelo Lakho. Sisakhuluma ngalo phela udaba lokuphathwa ebuthakathaka mayelana phela nemininingwane yakho eyimfihlo njengomthengi bese uthola ukuthi umuntu uzoyithatha ahambe ayovula izikweletu noma ahambe ayoclaima ku-insurance noma kuma-medical aid. Ngihleli lana no-advocate Pensi Tlakula and of course uMr Mani van Schalkwyk ukuthi basicebise ukuthi kahle kahle what can you do ukuthi wena avoid being the victim. Let's see what you are saying on our social media networks. Let's look at your Facebook messages quickly. All right, Usizeka Khumalo uthi, what can you do if you are already a victim? Mani, do you want to answer that one quickly?
Yes, we've got a free service that if you are a victim of fraud, you will phone in and we would take you through a process slowly but surely. And it is a process, it's not an event.
Okay.
To get you onto our database and list you as a victim.
Roughly how long is this process, Mani?
Well, it depends on yourself because there's some work to do, and I'm going to also hand a little bit over to Lee because they've launched an exciting product in that specific area. But for us, we will ask you to do an affidavit, for instance, to provide us with proof of address, provide us with proof of your identity, so that we make sure that we protect you as the consumer and we don't give protection to the fraudster.
And you're actually the right person, yeah.
Exactly. So once we've completed that process, as I mentioned, that's free of charge, we will then list you on this database and we will notify credit providers, banks, mobile companies, once there's an inquiry on your name, to say, be careful, this person is a victim of identity theft. So make sure that you're not dealing with a fraudster, make sure that you're dealing with the right consumer.
Thank you so much, Mani, for that answer. Let's take a look at more of your Facebook messages there. Timothy Nkoskone Nyambos uthi mina ngilahlekelwe ikhadi lasebhenki kodwa imali yami isakhishwa namanje kumele ngenze njani ngoba sengalivala. Advocate, do you want to answer to that question quickly for us?
Well, I think that person has to contact the bank.
Yeah.
And in fact, this morning, beba kuluma television ukuthi kuzaba kuna this Payment Association of South Africa.
Yes, yes.
I-Payment Association izawuba ne-system ukuthi mawulahlekelwe imali yazi kunama-debit order
Ama-debits,
aphuma
yebo.
199 rand sonke mawuthi mawubheka i-statement sakho thola ukuthi
Awazi nokuthi
khona
uyephi,
labantu
yeah.
bakhupha i-99 rand mawufanele uye ebank but fortunately i-Payment Association of South Africa is going to introduce a system in terms of which will be able to check and
Ukuthi
stop
i-track
that
ama-payments.
ukuthi iphumaphi
Okay.
bayikhuphe kanjani thina leyo ke asiyethu ke
Akuyona yena so kumele aye ebhenki directly.
Yes.
All right. Let's take a look at our final Facebook message for the segment. Zandile Nqasa miye kuthi Majali mnandi ngacebisa ngelithi ama payslips iletha yonke nje into ene details mayishiwe ingalahlwa emgqomeni kuphinde kubekho abantu abathengisa ngeinsurance over the phone abafuna i-details masingabanikezeli kwezinsuku kufuneka umuntu abe careful nge-personal details. Thank you so much for that pointer there. She's just basically saying that viewers must really watch out and never ever give their personal information over the phone to those people that are trying to sell them insurance. Mcebisi, all the way in Katlehong, is still on the line.
Yebo ngikhona.
Kunjani Mcebisi?
Khona njani?
Ngiyaphila Nsizwa. Thank you so much for staying on the line. Umbuzo noma umbono?
Yebo ngicela umbuzo lapha ngifuna ukusizakala ngendaba ngeke ngalahlekelwa ID yami se-Postloras 2011.
Yebo baba.
So umuntu wayovula i-account eTruworth nge-ID yami.
Okay.
And then later ngabo 2013 ngathola ama-call nama-message aqhamuka khona kwa-Truworth bathi ngiyakholota and ne-account angaze ngivule eTruworth.
Yes.
So bagcine bethi ngenza affidavit ngisendele kubo bazo-consider ngendaba yami but i-worry yami ukuthi ngifisa ukuthi kutholakale ukuthi ubani wayenze leyo nto leyo ngoba ngisuspect abantu engisondelene nabo and abantu esiphuma nabo eNatal eFrayed ngoba nenamba babeyi-3 i-034 khombisa lo muntu ukuthi eFrayed vele umuntu waseFrayed.
Webhuti Mcebisi, please ngicela ungadrop i-line there very quickly. Ma advocate, do you want to quickly address Ubhuti Mcebisi and then I'll let the other gentleman
in
actually...
fact it's money's
money. Well, basically
yes.
he in 2011 he lost his ID. Somebody opened a Truworths account in his name, and then he started getting SMSs 3 years later to say that he was owing, and then he says he wants to know who it was because he's done the whole process, he's written an affidavit, but he wants to know because he's suspecting close family members or people that actually know him from the same province are the ones that stole his information.
Yes, typically what was described is exactly what happens. Is you will not be aware that your personal identity was stolen in any way or form until you start getting the calls from the debt collectors, until you start getting phone calls to say you need to pay your account, and then you will realize, oh my gosh, I didn't open this account, and it is not me that opened it. To find out exactly who was it is a bit difficult because it could be various people. It could be somebody that stole your identity on the internet. It could be somebody when you lost your ID that picked it up and created an account in your name. Because they've got all the correct information. So that is exactly why I think we're saying two things, is you need to protect your information. The moment your information has been compromised, you need to come and list yourself in our protection database. And if you are a victim of crime like the caller, then come to us and we will assist you.
And now, Mani, he says he's gone through the process, he's done the affidavit. He would just like to know who is the person behind the identity theft. Is that possible? Could you ever find that?
Not really. It's not really possible to understand who it is because it could be various people on various ways. And that's not the kind of service that we offer.
Thank you so much. Mcebisi ngebhadi ke nsizwa bayasho ukuthi cha bona bakhona ukuthi bakutholele ukuthi ubani ngaphandle nje kokuthi bakusiza ukuthi bavale wonke lawo ma-account banotify wonke ama-creditors wakho ukuthi bazi ukuthi wafaka kule simo esikanje kanje. Kodwa ke musayifuna imininingwane, I'm sure you can call Money to get further clarity. All right, let's quickly take Andy all the way from Zanin. Andy, thank you so much for staying in the line. Umbuzo noma umbono?
Hi, my name is Andy.
Hi, Andy.
Yes, I have an issue. Last year, I was called by one of the debtors saying they wanted to reduce my installment by 50%, but they already have all the information because I was owing. They had almost everything. So then when I asked them, they said they're going to reduce it for free. They're going to reduce all my installment 50%. So they needed permission from me so that they can check if I qualify and so forth. So then I gave them a go-ahead. They said they're going to get back to me after 7 days. After 7 days, they never got back to me. I only got an SMS which shows that I've been put under debt review. Then when I tried to call them, because I was expecting for them to call me back to have an understanding of how they were going with the whole process. Then they sent me some forms saying they're going to reduce my installment by 834 rand.
Andy?
Then on the form, they did not state for how many months.
Andy?
Then I was asking to them
Andy,
how many months they could not clear it from me.
Andy, who exactly did they identify themselves as when they called you?
As Anglo debt assessors.
Okay, and you knew of them as your insurers, as your brokers?
They said they wanted to help me. So since I was desperate, so I needed to be helped. I gave them the go-ahead.
Okay.
But they did not give me the full details. They said they're going to get back to me once they've checked with my creditors how much I was owing and stuff.
Okay,
But
all right.
to them, they just took the whole process and took advantage of the whole situation. Afterwards, they wanted to debit so many amounts. It was even beyond the amount which I was owing from my creditors.
Andy,
So right
please-
now, my name is under debt review and I cannot do anything.
Andy, please just stay right there, Sisi. We're going to address your question shortly after this break. Mbugeli, let's quickly take this commercial break. Usisi needs answers shortly after that. Mbukeli ngisahleli with Mr. Money van Schalkwyk ovela kwi-South African Fraud Prevention Services. Nginano Advocate Bensi Tlakula ungumkhuseli wemininingwane yabantu phecelezi the Information Regulator. Nayo insizwa uli Nike yenake ubuya kwi-Credit Bureau i-TransUnion Africa. All here to teach us about how to handle our personal information to avoid being a victim of fraud. Before siya ebreakini sizwe from Andy all the way from Etzanin obe nenkinga kakhulu efonelwa abantu bethi bazomehlisela izikweletu zakhe from debt mediation. Lee, what do you have to say about that? And then we'll hear what Money has to say.
In terms of the previous caller, what I would say is that there are many individuals or entities that come forward and offer to actually alleviate some of your debt situation, right? And these individuals are sometimes nefarious, aren't always above board. So my biggest advice is to actually reach out to the credit ombud, right? The credit ombud acts on behalf of consumers that feel that their rights have been taken away from them. And if they file a complaint or file an investigation with the credit ombud actually connects the different players, the consumer, the credit provider, as well as the debt reviewer in this case, and tries to resolve the matter for you.
And
that's the simplest advice.
Yeah, because Manish is wondering where this secondary debt mediation person actually got her information because she was already sitting under debt review.
Yeah, and that is exactly what Advocate Lakula said earlier, is that if you provide your information for a specific purpose, it is only supposed to be used for that purpose.
Yes.
Obviously, what happened here is the information was passed on and a secondary service was offered to the consumer, and it sounded like it was a fraudulent or not above board or could be fraudulent conduct that was there. And just to add what Lee is saying, if a consumer goes to the credit ombudsman and is not happy with the conduct and does not get pleasure, please take it to the National Credit Regulator. They will also take that complaint specifically in terms of debt counselling.
All right. Now, Lee, I want you to talk to us about the introduction of a service. You said it's not an app, it's a service that will basically use or that monitors the use of your personal information online. Please tell us how that's going to work.
That's right. So we launched a product, in fact, at the summit a week or so ago called True Identity. Now, one of the big challenges about data protection and protecting your own information is that last year we had some breaches in South Africa. In fact, you hear more often that people's data, personal data, is being leaked into the internet. So what we did was we launched a service that puts together credit bureau services, for example, understanding what's on your credit report. But as some people walk into branches pretending to be you and they try to buy furniture or try to open up a new account, what this service does, it lets you know immediately via SMS, via email, there's some activity happening. But even worse, what's happening more recently, it's what we call the deep web or the dark web, when your credit information or your personal information ends up on parts of the internet, either in South Africa or somewhere else in the world, we start to identify the information and make users aware of this. So what True Identity does is, on one part, it identifies this fraud or potential fraud proactively. And secondly, one of the biggest challenges is when you are a victim of identity fraud, and Mani will tell you it's quite a process to actually get your affairs back in order.
Yeah, he did
So what
say.
we've built is we've partnered together with a global insurance partner to support the consumer in the services, whether it's the accounting, the lawyers, the forensic investigators. It's almost a package of services that allows you to reclaim, restore your identity prior to the incident happening. So it was launched only a few weeks ago. It appeals to all members of the public, anyone that's concerned about fraud. And as I mentioned to you earlier, in researching this problem in South Africa, more than 50% of South Africans either have been victims of fraud or they know somebody in their community.
Yeah.
So there's a prevalent problem. And given the fact that the internet connects us together, it'll become more and more widespread.
Advocates, ngicela ukhulume ngala Liz talking about reclaimer and so forth, and I want you to speak particularly on the issue abantu basesasa. What kind of recourse will then abantu abeza kunina with ama issues get as a resolve? Maybe phuma kunina.
Ithi ngiqala ukuthi inkinga esinayo khona manje ukuthi i-Protection ye-Personal Information Act, only certain sections of that act have come into operation.
Okay.
Not all the sections. For instance, the sections that have come into operation are those that establish the regulator.
Okay.
The sections that provides for sanctions have not yet come into operation.
Okay.
What is supposed to happen is that, because the organization is new,
Yes.
once we have been fully set up and we have employed staff and we've put business processes in place, we'll then approach the president to bring into effect the remaining sections of the act. But having said that, even at this point in time, we do accept complaints.
Okay.
And we encourage all the private and public bodies to proactively comply with the act, because the act is going to come into operation. So if you have
When is it coming into operation?
we are hoping that by next year, beginning of the year,
Okay.
we will approach the president to promulgate
Okay.
the operationalization of the remaining sections. But even at this point in time, people can still approach us with their complaints, and they
Nitholakala
do.
kanjani ma at this stage?
Sitholakala i-email yethu is inforec@justice.gov.za.
Okay.
And then phone number iti 012-418-4818.
Okay. I think ikhona lapha escreenini.
Yes, ikhona. So khona manje if uzakithi about a complaint, sina already more than 380 complaints.
Oh, wow.
And amaning ama-complaints la, ama-complaints about the banks, about the insurance companies, about the mobile cell phone providers.
Okay.
And most of the complaints are about direct marketing.
Okay.
These approaches, and where people are approached through electronic communication, which is unsolicited. So if uza ngithi complaint, sibhalela i-company sibatshela ukuthi nayi i-complaint, can you please resolve it and come back to us?
Okay.
And most of the companies do oblige, because once the act comes into operation,
Izobe isiforced.
let me tell you, the fine for non-compliance goes up to 10 million rands. Yes, it's a serious business.
Wow.
There will be reputational risk. And if you don't comply with certain sections of the act, that also will constitute a criminal offense. So South Africans, we still have it, private and public bodies, because the act has not yet come into operation. That is why you get bombarded with these phone calls, people trying to sell you things. But
Yeah.
once a person calls, if a company calls you and you are not a customer of that company, be proactive as the owner of the personal information. Be assertive and say, where did you get my personal information? Until you tell me that, I'm not going to answer your question. And tell them that it is wrong for you to contact me on my phone without my consent, because I have not I'm not your customer, and I have not given you consent to contact me to sell me goods or services.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, I think Utobile is still on the line. Johan, can I still take a caller or should I go straight to break? All right, let's quickly take a caller. Tobile, all the way from Rudaport, Ntokazi. Ngicela nje uthi qaba umbuzo wakho sokuphendula mesibuye ekhefini Ntokazi.
Hayi akuyontokazi
Nsizwa, uthobile, uyahleka ngisho ukuhleka uthule nje ngikubiza intokazi. It is Women's Month. Welcome to the show, Tobile. Umbuzo nsizwa.
Sisimane khuluma noThobile kamfundisi ngilapha eRodeport. Sisimane ndinombuzo sisimane apha kwabantu be-South African Fraud Prevention. And ilahlekwe i-ID yami bayintshontsha I think 2 years back.
Yes.
So into eyenzekayo ndine-loan eCapitec. So ndaxa ndiyogqibezela i-loan. Xa ndiyofuna enye i-loan khona bantshela ukuthi in the blacklisted because kuno somebody ouse i-ID yami. Then mina I was like okay bendikhe ngalahlekwa i-ID last. Babechecka bona khona bathi lo muntu uvule amafoni South African Fraud, I mean, auto-page cellular. Wathatha amafoni khona akhosta almost 20,000.
What?
So bathi kuma ndiye khona Southgate. So mandifike Southgate lo muntu ukhuphe ubuso bam wafaka obakhe.
Oh, kwi-ID yakho.
Kwi-ID yami. So the question is ama-bank statement uwathathe kuphi because mina zanga i-bank statement yayingekho khona at the time ulahleke i-ID yami. And waforja i-payslip so wathi mina ngihola more than 15,000. So the question is emsebenzini how can bangayinotice loo nto and uyithole njani i-bank statement yami. So mandilandelela mina emaphoyiseni bathi no mandiyidrophe le case kwathini. So I decided ukuthi ndiyidrophe because ngifuna ukuthi thanks kubo manje abantu base-South African Fraud Prevention bangisize kakhulu because aye-adrotshwa lama-charge lama-credit onke then banginikeza ileta. Manje ngihleli neleta apha kum le leta ke ngokubathi izongcina for 10 years. So the question is what if the leta mhlambi ilahlekile kum because manje I think it's 3 years manje ndizophinda ndiyifumane njani na.
All right, le letter evela kubona laba be-South African Fraud Prevention Services. All right, Utobile, we're going to address your questions. Mine is right here. I'm going to be telling him about what you just said during the ad break. Mbukela unganyakazi wena lapho siyabuya shortly after this. And then I have to Mani, please let's get on to it.
Yes.
Answer, please.
What I gather from the caller is that his information as well as bank statements were used to open a Cell C account, and which is not his account. And that is exactly when people leak their personal details have been leaked, people create an entire profile. So those bank statements that the consumer was, as mentioned, is not his real bank statements. Those bank statements were created somewhere in an office where people have paid 200 or 300 or 400 rand to get bank statements ready, identification ready. And so even if your information is leaked, somebody could print an ID that looks exactly with your details.
And just put a photo of themselves.
And just their own photo. And that is what happened in terms of bank statements. So to question where did they get my bank statements, those bank statements were created, number one. Number two, if you have got protection with the SAFPS, it is a good thing, and that will carry on. If you lose that letter or it gets... you lose it, we can reissue that data for you. Yes.
All right, my advocate, please, your last words, please.
Protection of personal information applies to everybody, big and small. So even if you run a hair salon and you take your customers' personal information, you have to ensure that you store it properly, that it does not get lost, and it is protected.
Your last word, really?
Take control of your personal information. 0861 482 482. Get your credit report. It helps.
All right, and the number was there all the time. I can bugeli 3 minutes wami usuphelile. Ngiyabonga kakhulu ngokuthi uhlalela. Let me thank my studio guests for their invaluable knowledge ukuthi baze la e-studio bazokhuluma nathi. Banicebise ngazo zonke lezi zinto. Please remember ukuthi uhlelo lethu it repeats every Thursday kusukela ngo-11 kuya ku-12 manje. I'll see you again next time. Kodwa next week ngiyacabanga ukuthi uSimphiwe uzobe khona. U-Alisha Unhlanhla wakajali uthi nisale kahle.
Yilungelo lakho mama,